Welcome back. So today I want to talk about onions, and I want to plant a bunch of them in our garden. And onions are a really unique vegetable that are very easy to grow at home, and there's tons of different kinds, and we're going to talk about a number of them, and then we're going to plant an absolute favorite, Walla Walla Sweet. So onions are in the allium family, and this is a family that also includes garlic, shallots, and leeks as well, scallions, also chives, which are perennial. And there's lots of different reasons for growing different types. For me, I am most partial to growing the sweet onions because I find that sweet onions that are grown at home are just so much better than what you would get in the store. And there's the minute you harvest those onions, they're going to start to lose sweetness. So really the sweetest onions are going to be the ones that come right from your home garden. So just wanted to talk about a few varieties of different things that you could plant in your garden right now. Leeks are a great option. Leeks take a very, very long time to grow. So leeks that are planted now are going to be harvested in the fall and will even be good into the winter, into January of next year. So good to have early planting for leeks and most onions. Cipollini, this is a really fun little kind of squat Italian onion. It's very sweet, great for grilling. Really kind of specialty restaurants love the Cipollini onions. Red Torpedo is another Italian heirloom with these kind of elongated red bulbs, nice sweetness. And then Alyssa Craig, this is more of a standard kind of storage onion, which I don't tend to grow storage onions as much in my garden just because I don't find the flavor to be super different than what you would find at a farmer's market or even at a grocery store, but definitely an option. And then of course the beloved Walla Walla Sweet, which we're gonna plant today. So just a few things to kind of think about with alliums in general. As I sort of alluded to, most of these things take a very, very long time to grow. And so timing is pretty important. If onions are planted too late in the spring or early summer, they really won't reach full maturity and get that nice kind of swollen bulb that you hope for in an onion. And so, perfect time for planting. Onions are incredibly resilient, very hardy plants. They're tough, which is why they're a great beginner vegetable. And one thing that people often make a mistake with onions, this is not one onion. If you look very closely, you can kind of see that there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, there's like 10 onions in here. And most people who don't know any better would just plant this whole bunch of onions in the ground, and you're never gonna get a nice full-size bulb if you're planting multiple onions. Now, if we were planting scallions or bunching onions, which we don't have today, then absolutely you would want to plant them all together in bunches, because at that point we're really growing them more for the kind of lush green tops and not for the bulbs. But with Walla Wallas and most of these onions here, you're going to want to give them some good space. So what you're actually going to do, and this is something I would almost never recommend for other plants, but I'm going to actually shake off this soil off these plants and just expose their kind of bare roots. And it's kind of a delicate process. It may not look very delicate, but kind of teasing apart these individual roots, trying not to do too much root damage. With most plants, or vegetable starts, if we were to actually expose their bare roots like this, they would suffer serious damage and become stunted over time. But with onions, not only can they tolerate it, it's going to be totally essential to really get nice mature bulb size. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna make our little row. And if you ever, wanna keep your rows nice and straight, it can be, this is just a piece of wood that I had over in the wood pile, and I can kind of use this to make a really nice straight row. And with these onions, we're gonna plant these rows 6 inches apart. So I'm gonna do 3 rows about 6 inches apart. I've become pretty good at kind of eyeballing that, but you certainly can measure. So now we've got a little bit of a template for where those plants are gonna go. I've already done some fertilization of the soil, and I've also done a little bit of work to kind of, break up chunks and do a little bit of tillage, rougher tillage with, a little cultivating tool. So now I'm gonna just get these onions kind of laid out at about 6 inch spacing. So 6 inch apart the rows, and then six inches apart with the actual plants. Maybe we'll squeeze one more in there. Little close, but. And then I'm gonna go ahead and plant each of these individually. And unlike most vegetables where I would just wanna plant them up right to the level of where they were in the soil, onions wanna be buried extra deep. So I'm actually just gonna take a couple fingers and open up a space, and I'm gonna bury this all the way down to that branch. So, and by burying it more deeply, you're actually gonna get bigger bulb size and more kind of blanching of that bulb. So I'm gonna do another one. Just pull it back, drop it in. And like I said, these are tough plants, so they don't need a lot of special care compared to most veggies. Just drop them in. And there you have it. So of course you're gonna want to water your onions in very well, and they don't look like much. I mean, it's just amazing that this little plant can become a big fat Walla Walla onion late in the summer. So really, from this point on, mostly it's going to be about watering those onions and keeping them, giving them regular water. And like all things, after transplanting, for the next week or so, they're not going to look good. They're going to look kind of flopped over and a little bit sad, and that's just a kind of natural reaction to the shock of being transplanted. But without fail, they just sort of stand up after a week or so, and just before you know it, it's going to be late summer and you're going to have a big old onion. And if we were planting storage onions, or even in the case of Walla Wallas, you do have the option of, even Walla Wallas will store for a month or 2 out of the ground in a pantry. And one of the ways to really help them kind of develop a good storability is to actually stop irrigating them late in the summer. So what you'll see is they'll grow very, very slowly, and you're gonna water them regularly just like everything else in your garden. But at a certain point late in the summer, when the greens are, 12 inches or 18 inches tall, and you see a nice big bulb, you're gonna see some of these greens start to die back naturally and turn brown, even though you've watered that onion. And that's a sign that the onion is moving into its sort of storable phase. And you can help that along by fully stopping water at that point and letting the green tops fully die back and brown. And that'll also coincide with developing that really nice papery skin that you see on an onion that's storable. And then you're gonna have something that, rather than lasting just a week or 2 in the fridge, can last for a whole month or 2, out of the fridge. So good luck with your onions, and let us know how it goes.